Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to give you my top tips for traveling on a budget. All right, if you're new here, hi, I'm Claire. Welcome. Come on in, make yourselves comfortable. I love to travel. I love a weekend away with my family. I love a romantic me and my husband moment. I love spending a week in Europe when I can afford it. All types of travel, nothing is off limits here. We love it all. I also, however, don't like spending tons of money. So you'll find lots of budget content on this channel. If you like what you see, make sure you subscribe. Today we're talking about budget and traveling. Budget lifestyle meets travel. So these are my tips. Actually, one of you requested this video, so here are all my best tips. So I know it's easy to find tons of videos like this on budget travel out there, but I decided to make one with ones like real tips that I actually personally use. So yeah, let's get right into it. Here are my budget travel tips. My first tip is actually not something you can physically do, but more of a way of thinking about travel. And that is to be super realistic about what your family wants and would get the most out of. So if you've been following me, you know that this past year, my husband and I went to London and we also went to Berlin. It was amazing. It was super fun, but we did not bring our kids. And I know a lot of you out there might have looked at that like, wow, 2 trips to Europe in 1 year and you didn't bring your children. But the thing is, my kids are, well, my son just turned 7, but they were 5 and 6 when we took those trips. They're, maybe would enjoy it, yes. But is it worth thousands of dollars for them to go to Europe when they probably won't really remember it that much or really get a lot of cultural, I don't know, influence, or, they're not really gonna get a lot out of it. I would much rather save my money and take them to Europe when they're 16, 17, in a more formative time when they're starting to learn about the world. I would much rather spend that money there. They're gonna get just as much out of a weekend away at the Detroit Zoo or at the beach on Lake Michigan than they're gonna get out of that. There is no reason to spend loads of money for your baby to go to Disney World. If you have a 2-year-old, you can literally just go to the beach and get an Airbnb for a weekend for a couple $100 rather than spending 10 grand to take the family to Disney. I know all you Disney people out there, I know that that's a thing and it's really popular. However, I'm not gonna take my little children to Disney. I'm gonna wait till they're I don't know, 7, 8, 9. Leave me a comment down below. What do you think the ideal age is for a Disney trip for a kid? Honestly, just be realistic about what your family's actual vacation needs are and what your kids and family are actually going to enjoy, and don't waste money on things your kids aren't even gonna remember. All right, my next tip is for people who like to fly because some vacations are far away. If you're going to Europe, the United States is gigantic. We fly. That's our preferred method if we're gonna go somewhere far. I'm not really a road trip kind of mom. That's just my preference. I prefer flying. So if you're like me and you like to fly or you do fly or whatever, definitely my tip is to be loyal to an airline. And I know that sometimes can be hard because Spirit Airlines is gonna be oh, fly here for $8 or something. It's never worth it. I have tried Spirit Airline before. I gave it a go. I flew to LA with them once. And I found in the end, paying for my luggage and all of that, it was not worth it. It was not a better deal to go through Spirit because you have all these little add-ons. And also it was the most uncomfortable flight of my entire life. I'm 5'10", it was horrible. My knees hurt so bad. That was the longest flight to LA ever. I got off and I thought this was not worth saving, I don't know, $11 or something. So once you find an airline you like, maybe it is Spirit. I'm not gonna hate on you if you're no, I'm down, I'm tiny, I can do it. Fine, go for it. But stay loyal to Spirit because you would then get all of the perks of being part of their membership club. I'm a Delta girl all the way. I have only ever really flown Delta. Here and there I've tried other budget airlines to save money, but in the end I always go back to Delta. And the more that you are loyal to an airline with whatever their Sky Miles, Delta is called Sky Miles, but whatever their mileage program is, you can start building rewards and getting discounts and all that kind of stuff. If you stay true to one airline, you're gonna get more out of it in the long run. That leads me to my next tip, that if you are flying and you are loyal to your airline, you need to make sure you're making the most out of whatever program that is. I personally have the American Express Gold Card through Delta. Now, this is a terrible tip if you're a person that cannot get yourself together when it comes to a credit card. If having a credit card is going to cost you more in the long run because you're gonna run up a balance, then this tip is not for you. Do not do it. I do not want any of you to run out there and get in a bunch of debt because you think it's gonna save you money in the long run. That's not how it goes. But if you're like me and you pay your balance off every month and you don't, get a bunch of debt, definitely think about getting a credit card that's associated with your airline of preference. I have been so happy with this Delta card. It does cost $95 per year. So in order to justify making that worth it, you need to make sure that you're gonna use enough perks for that. I don't know if other airlines cost money, or maybe you have like a Capital One or like whatever. I know there's like lots of cards that offer different perks, but I love my American Express Gold card. I've had it for 14 years. It is seriously, I've had entire European trips paid for just on Sky Miles because I use it to pay all my bills, pay everything, and I just gather those Sky Miles and those deals all the time. So I will leave a link, a referral link. I'll be transparent. I think we both get like bonus miles if we sign up for it. I'll leave a link to it down below. You are under no obligation to go for that. And like I said, if you're not someone who handles credit cards well, then don't do it. Along these same lines, even if you're not a flyer, definitely look into using cards like for gas. So I know Speedway, my brother-in-law does this, and I should have called him and asked him how he does it, but he buys Speedway gift cards in like $100 increments because you get Speedy rewards back when you buy gift cards. So he's got it all rigged up that he gets free gas every once in a while. So if you're doing like a long road trip and you're not flying and gas is horribly expensive, maybe look into, I know like Marathon has a credit card, and I know you get like a few cents off, or like Sam's Club, or the clubs kind of usually have a cheaper price, but I do know the Speedy Rewards is a really good hack. So if you're doing gas, maybe look into that. My next tip is for those of you who are like, girl, I'm not doing a road trip. I am not flying across the world. I've got like, I don't know, $100 to spend here. And that is go camping. And initially the investment into camping gear, it can seem quite pricey. However, I just got the cheapest tent that I could find. I spent like $50 on a tent. Also, you can usually find them used if you look on the Facebook Marketplace. We just got the cheapest air mattress and a little plug-in pump for it. I spent only a couple $100 total on all of our camping gear. And honestly, especially if you're going for state parks, you can camp for like $20 a night at most state parks. At least in Michigan, that's how it is. I know that there's state parks everywhere. So if that's not your vibe, if you're not like a rustic person, I guess it depends on the state park. I've been to rustic camping and not rustic camping in a state park, but there's also campgrounds that are geared towards families that have pools and have, playgrounds and all that kind of stuff. But most cities have some sort of campground around or in them. So depending on where you're going, depending on the time of year, obviously, maybe think about trying camping. We've done it a couple times with the kids. They weren't so certain about it at first, but I think the more we do it, the more they're kind of getting used to the vibe. It will save you tons of money on a hotel, and often you are making your own food when you're camping as well, which also saves a lot of money. My next tip is a classic, but I have the perfect example of how this literally just saved me thousands of dollars, and that is book your hotel and your flight together if you're flying. Make it a package. You can use, any of the big websites, Expedia, Travelocity, those. I, however, you know how I am, I'm a Delta girl. I use Delta Vacations, and I didn't even know this was a thing for years. It's not like super highly advertised, but it is on their website, Delta Vacations. You can book a flight and a hotel, and you might know we're going to Naples next year. And just the flights were like $1,500, $1,600 per person. But then I went to Delta Vacations, and for flight and a hotel, it was like $1,400 per person, which is a lot of money. That's a lot of money, don't get me wrong. However, for 8 nights in a hotel in Italy, and your flight there and your flight back, that's a great deal. It would have been thousands more had I booked them separately. So I was really, really pleased with that. So I'm not sure if other airlines have that kind of package that you could do, but I know Delta does, and it's definitely saved me. We booked the same way when we went to London and when we went to Berlin, and yeah, it saved me tons of money. And also you can then use your Sky Miles to get money off. Delta, I know, does like $100 for every 10,000 miles you have. So you don't have to wait till you have enough miles to cover the whole trip. You can just get like a couple $100 off, and that's really helpful too. Every dollar matters when you're traveling. So yeah, book them together. My next tip is if you are staying in a hotel for more than a couple of days, try to book one that has a kitchenette in it, or at the very least, a mini fridge. And that's because you can do so much of your eating and food like right from your hotel room. And I know this isn't super ideal for everyone. A lot of people, they like to travel because of the food. But if you're doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner, especially if you have a family, especially like me, I have like picky kids, they aren't even gonna eat everything we go to at a restaurant. It's gonna be a huge waste of money. So, you know, I always pack things like granola bars and stuff like that that don't need to be refrigerated, but just the fact that I could make some ramen noodles to keep the kids happy, or a box of Kraft Mac or whatever, is so, so helpful, and it saves a lot of money. It doesn't mean you have to like, you know, eat crap food out of the hotel the whole time you're on vacation. Of course, go experience wherever you are, have the food, have a great time, but you could still make sandwiches sometimes for lunch for a couple of those days, and that will really knock down your food costs for while you're traveling. My next tip is to get on Facebook and check out the Facebook events of the place that you're going to. Facebook is so global that it doesn't matter if you're in Berlin or you're in, I mean, anywhere in America, there is going to be some sort of events going on there, and Facebook will have an event page for it. This is a great way to find free and exciting things to do while you're on vacation, especially if you've got your kids. There's always stuff going on wherever you are. And Gianni and I, we did a trip to Chicago once, and we found this like taco festival going on that we would not have known. It was free to go. The tacos were cheap, but like, even if you're just looking for a good atmosphere and whatnot, any type of like jazz festivals and blues festivals and the Mint Festival, the Blueberry Festival, like a lot of these towns have just crazy festivals going on all summer. So definitely get on there for your itinerary, get on Facebook, find some free fun activities to fill your days and not cost a lot. My next tip is to use public transportation whenever possible. Now, if you're going to Europe, this will be very easy because their public transportation is incredible. But a lot of people, they don't really think about it, and they go right for Uber or for taxis, and you're going to spend so much money, especially abroad, if you're gonna take a taxi everywhere. I mean, it's just going to drain your wallet. So before I go on a trip to Europe, I like to look up the city's public transport, get a map of the public transportation. Like when we went to London, we pre-bought our little like subway cards and we loaded money on it beforehand. I also love this app called City Mapper. I'll leave like a link to it. And you can put any city in there, most cities, and abroad or at home. And it will give you like, oh, I'm here and I wanna go here. And it'll tell you all the steps of how to get to whatever bus or train station you need to get to, like which platform, like all of the information to get you there via public transportation. So definitely check that out, even if you're going to Chicago, if you're going to Paris, like anytime you're doing any type of big city that has public transportation, I really have found that app to be very helpful. And my last tip has to do with shopping. If you're a person that likes to buy when you are traveling, which I have been guilty of this in the past because you get so excited and you just want to buy all this memorabilia from your time. What we have kind of done is like picked a thing that we collect when we go. So like my husband, he's got to get a snow globe. He's a snow globe guy. So when he goes to a new city or a new place that's exciting, he picks out a snow globe and like that's his thing. He's got the thing. We don't need to buy a bunch of other crap, you know, like, you know, kitschy, you know, souvenir type things. He gets a snow globe, we're good to go. For me, I love a Christmas ornament. I love every year putting my Christmas ornaments on the tree and looking at all the places that I've traveled. So I buy a Christmas ornament and it doesn't take up that much space and it's not a super expensive thing. And then we aren't like buying a bunch of garbage. So maybe if you have kids with you, sometimes that's difficult. They want all the chintzy stuff. Maybe get them going on a collection of some sort. When I was little, I collected spoons everywhere we went, and I have this lovely collection of all of my spoons from all over America from when I was little, which I think is really fun. So maybe get your kids going on that too, and instead of buying everything you see, keep it targeted. Also in that same shopping vein, I like to shop for things that remind me of the place but are also useful. So like clothing, if I'm gonna need a pair of something anyway, some shoes or something great like that, of beachy, beachwear, that kind of stuff, you're kind of like satisfying two things there, killing two birds with one stone. You're getting a great piece of something from a place you've been, but at the same time you can still wear it, which is great. I also like bringing food back as like gifts or like, as a sort of souvenir, because it also pulls double duty, that it's a thing that reminds you of where you were, but also it could be a meal, and I think that's great as well. So there you go. Those are my tips, kind of all over the place. I know, because I do like, traveling domestically, camping, and I also like, staying in London. So I know it's a little bit of everything, but I hope you enjoyed this list. Leave me your best travel tips down below. I would love to hear them. And yeah, I'll see you in my next one. Happy travels, friends. Bye.